So maybe you found yourself staring at the Dudek website thinking Driftair, Hadron 3 or the warp drive. Which one is the right ladder for me? Alright, so good day guys. Today we're going to be talking about the Driftair. I know it's been a long time coming. Kind of put this whole thing off to the very last moment to try and fly one of these and compare it to the Hadron 3 and to the warp. So today I'm going to be giving the Driftair a couple of tight turns and going to be really answering the questions that you guys want to know. You see, there are some really great pilots out there and they've done some really great reviews on the Driftair. So it's pointless for me to try and do some aerobatics. It's not really my thing. And to convince you that the Driftair is better in that way. We know the Driftair is an awesome acrobatic glider. You just have to YouTube it and you'll find some guys doing some absolutely crazy things with it. But I really think that you guys want to know the stuff that the reviewers aren't really talking about. Is the Hadron 3, the warp or the Driftair the right glider for you? And it's been very confusing, I have to say, because when reviewers buy these gliders or get the demos out, it's really the tiny ones that they fly. So maybe the weight calculation isn't going to be the same as the glider that you would ideally buy. Let me explain that. When you're trying to buy a glider, you're trying to buy it within the top 7 kilos of the max weight range. So you don't really want to overstress the glider, or really, to put it the right way, you don't want to overload the glider. And so some of these acrobatic pilots and slalom racing pilots, they would overload the glider because that's how they get the most performance out of it. But you know, for mere mortals like the rest of us, we try and buy the glider in the right weight range, and that's when you get the absolute best performance out of it as far as fuel efficiency goes, combined with its agility, combined with its speed and climb rate. You're not sacrificing one of them. If you are going to overload a glider, you're sacrificing climb rate for speed. And so you want to get everything into the right combination, and then you really do see the best come out of that glider. So today I'm going to be flying the Driftair 20. Full disclosure, I think that the Driftair 18 would be the correct size for my weight and glider machine specification. You know, when I calculate all the weight that's going to go up into the air, the all-up weight as we call it. Alright, so without further ado, let me lay out this new Driftair and give it a couple of turns and do a couple of tests when it comes to climb rates and speed, and then I'm going to give you guys my verdict on what I think about it and also how I compare that to the Hadron 3 and the warp. Let's get cracking. First thing I notice is how stable this glider is. It really requires very little input from the pilot to keep on track. As I pass the field, I just go full power to test the climb rate. Trims are closed, giving it all I've got, and what a climb rate. I've got to say, it's got a better climb rate than the Hadron 3 and the warp. I did one quick spiral on the tip steering alone and then one using the brakes, both on half trims, and the glider is always really eager to get into those turns. Wing overs, sats, if you're into any of those maneuvers, you're really going to enjoy this glider. It's easy to turn and it's really eager to perform. Next up, I'm just taking it low and fast, using the speed bar and the power attack mode of the speed bar to bleed off the altitude. So it increases the sync rate, gets you nice and low, and you can control that with the throttle. If you've got enough power on your motor, you'll be able to maintain that altitude and use the grips on the tip steering to be able to maneuver without using too much reflex. and you're never on the brakes while you're on the speed bar, especially on the power attack. So I was very careful to get off the brakes when I engaged the power attack. So it handles really well. It's got fantastic agility. The guys that likes to play low and fast, this really is a glider. I can see why some of the review pilots really liked it. It's fantastic when it comes to agility, and it's rock steady when it comes to its stability. Cross-country pilots love the power attack. You basically stay on power attack with your trimmers already set at landing speed, and you let go of the power attack when you get close to the landing spot, and basically as you release you'll be at landing speed, and it's just so much quicker to get onto the ground. Alright guys, I was going to show you the takeoff, but the thrust of the F200 blew the tripod over, and so unfortunately you're not going to see that. Anyways, getting back to my impressions of the glider, as you could see in some of the footage I put up, I really liked it. It's a fantastic handling glider. Right off the bat, the takeoff is easier than the warp by far. It's got shorter trim settings, so the takeoff and the climb is very, very smooth and very, very fast. So it's got an incredible climb rate. Trims closed, and then when you start opening up the trimmers, you really do get the sense of speed, but not as big an acceleration as what you have on the warp. So when you open up the warp, the wing loader is so enormous that it just shoots open and you gun it. So I think that you would be able to increase this effect, get more acceleration out of the Driftair if you are a little bit conservative when it comes to the numbers. So to really try and get to that top wing load indicated on the manual. See if you can, for example, I flew a Driftair 20 here. I definitely go down to something like a 17 or an 18 to be able to get more out of it. So wing load could definitely be increased for me on this glider. But as far as this one goes, there is acceleration, but not as much as the warp, and the trimmers are much smaller. All right, then what I really dig about this glider, those outside tip steering grips. They are absolutely fantastic. I mean, I can just imagine having that on the warp. It's so easy to turn. You can just put the toggles away. They stay there. Actually, I would say that they fit a little bit closer. I think the risers are a bit smaller on this design, because they sit a bit closer to me on the high hang points, and it's very comfortable to reach and to pull. The only downside of having this system would be that if you are going to fly with the toggles, it takes a bit more brake input, so the brakes are a lot stiffer than what you would have on the warp. On the warp, it's very tiny inputs, where this is a lot more intense, a lot more to pull on. And I would say that, but those, it's a different style of flying. I think that you have to spend quite a bit of time on this glider where you learn to fly only with the tip steering, and then you're going to have a blast. I really do think that is going to be the ticket. So it's a different style. You just got to learn to fly a different style. I'm all warp, so I do fly with the toggles. Don't try and grip the tip steering on their own. So as far as speed goes, it is fast, not as fast as the warp, definitely not, there's no comparison. But I would say that if you're looking for a sporty glider and you're not a cross-country person, this is the ticket. This is the glider that you buy to play with. It's very nice in the tumbles. If you're going to do wing overs and barrel rolls and things like that, I could feel that it's very sensitive, I just don't get the sense that it's a cross-country. So what I mean with that is that if you're going to open up the trimmers, you're looking for a lot of speed built into the trimmers and not so much into the speed bar. A lot of the speed is built into the speed bar of this glider, and that's why there's not a gigantic acceleration when you open up the trimmers all the way. So when you start going through those turns, it's very nippy, it's very nice to fly, especially if your trim's closed and you start playing with it. Fantastic. So handling wise, definitely it's the kind of glider that a sporty pilot would like, the guy that wants to do the aerobatics. I would still say that if you're going to do slalom racing, pylon racing, the warp is going to be the faster one. It's going to give you a lot more speed out of it. But aerobatics wise, this is going to be a very nice, and I'll tell you why, because a lot of pilots that want to do these rolls, they're going to do it higher up, so they are going to want to have a very good climb rate, and I would say this has got a better climb rate than the warp. I could be mistaken, I didn't measure it, but it kind of felt like it just wanted to climb. So pilots can get up higher quicker and then do their tricks and climb up higher again and do it again. So as far as climb rate goes, you're not sacrificing anything. Speed is there, but you're going to have to use the speed bar. Tight turns, flying close to the ground, all of that, it feels very safe. It feels very, very steady. And I'm going to give this definitely an A+ for sporty pilots. So if for example, a pilot that's buying one of these now, he was only interested in aerobatic flying and having something nippy, and that's why I recommended the Driftair, and I'm glad I did, because it is the right glider for him. And then someone like a cross-country pilot that's going to do longer flights, hour, 2, 3 hour flights, the H3 is definitely going to be the better pick there. Of all the 3 gliders, of the Warp, the Hadron 3 and the Driftair, I would say the Hadron 3 is going to give you the most comfortable ride in the cross-country of the Warp. The Warp does everything, so it does aerobatics, cross-country, but you don't have the outside, those outside tip steering toggles, or at least grips, and because you don't have that, it's not going to be as comfortable as the H3. And then the Driftair, that takes the spot for acro flying. I think that if you had to pick one for acro flying, this is going to be the ticket. But don't be confused, guys. A lot of guys are saying that this is a beat up on the Warp. It's not. It falls in below it. It is not as fast. It's not going to do cross country flying like the Warp. So don't try and compete with the Warp when it comes to cross country. Buy this glider for aerobatics. Buy this glider if you're a sporty pilot and you want to fly a lot of tight twists and turns and roll yourself until you puke. I think that this is the thing that you're going to buy. All right, guys, it's a short video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you've got any questions, let me know, and I'll see you on the next one.